Hi, I'm Hershey Felder on the stage of the Royal George Theatre, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We are here in Highland Park, Illinois, and we are going to be finding out about a wonderful fundraiser, a wonderful organization, and we are going to be talking about a trip that these three people are about to take, which is really not just a trip, but an adventure. So I want to welcome Howard Zavell.
Thank you very much.
And Max.
Hello.
And Benjamin, his two sons. And they are going on a trip to climb. And it's hard to believe that people actually do this. Mount Kilimanjaro. And how did you decide, first of all, that to support Magen David Adom, which is the equivalent of the Israeli Red Cross, to go on this big trip and this climb?
Well, we were talking about this adventure for a long time. It's something that I'd wanted to do, probably going back 20 years. But it just never happened. And obviously then I had my boys and my daughter, and we decided it wasn't realistic to even think about doing this trip until very recently. And a couple of years ago, a good friend of mine took a trip with his entire family around the world for a year. And I started to think about what a marvelous way to pull your family together and at the same time do something really marvelous. And 2 years ago, we were in Israel celebrating Max's bar mitzvah. And leading up to that time period, he had participated in Magen David Adom's Red Bag of Courage program, which was a program for B'nai Mitzvahs where they would raise a certain amount of money, at least $1,000, and they would then be outfitting an emergency outfitter bag for the paramedics. And this was a really, I thought, unique program because it wasn't too large. It was something that he could handle, and he did a great job with it. We had talked about how he would raise the money. We had agreed that he couldn't solicit money from any family or friends or any of my clients, but that he would actually have to somehow earn the money. And so over the course of 9 or 10 months, leading up to the time they were going to Israel, he started to raise the money, in part by shoveling snow during the winter. And what was the big thing that you did?
I sold pumpkins for Halloween, these giant pumpkins, and it was a great kind of like business venture, I guess you could say.
And all that money was for Magen David Adom as part of your mitzvah project?
Yes, all of it.
So, we actually went up to Wisconsin with a farmer and bought these giant pumpkins. They weighed 40, 50, 60 pounds, and we were able to make a very nice arrangement with him. And then he brought them back here, and he put them in a wagon one at a time and walked them around the neighborhood and told them what he was putting, all the money would go to. And obviously they went very quickly. And so he raised about $2,100 between these different projects, which I thought was phenomenal, without any participation from family or friends. And that was really what Ann, my wife, and I really wanted to instill in him, that you could do this, and if you work hard, you could actually accomplish something. So when we went to Israel, we visited the Basil Street station, and had a tour, and they took them into the control room and showed them how all the operations work. But they treated Max as if he had raised $1 billion, which really impressed me because I think they understood that this was a lot of work and how important their work is to explain to him as an American Jew. And it was very impressive, and that kind of got me thinking we could do something even larger than that on a broader basis. And we could tie in this trip that we wanted to do now 2 years later into raising funds for Magen David Adom. And so as it kind of came together, and a good friend of mine, Nate Weiss, I was talking to him that I wanted to do this trip, and his response is, "You're crazy. Jewish people don't climb mountains. And so we would go back and forth with this kind of banter. And somehow we got to the idea that, hey, we could do this and raise funds for Magen David Adom, take this family adventure and have a really unique opportunity to do something good and also create an amazing bonding situation for us.
Well, I know Nathan, I can hear him saying this. So.
Absolutely. He still thinks I'm crazy.
So you decided that this trip would be something that you always wanted to do. Have you ever gone mountain climbing before?
No.
So this is really an adventure from the very start.
It is. But the nice thing about Mount Kilimanjaro is a very unique mountain to climb. It's one of the 7 peaks, largest peaks. It's 19,300 feet. Obviously very high. But what's so unique about it is it's not a technical climb, meaning that it's not a Mount Everest climb. Right. Now Everest is obviously 10,000 feet higher, but 19,000 feet is pretty high. And so what's neat about this is if you're in reasonably good shape and you're used to camping and you're used to being exposed to the elements and do some decent amount of training, you should be able to do this climb. Obviously taking the 2 of them, I have additional concerns, and so I arranged a trip where we're actually doing the longest route so that our ascent to the summit is slow. And that's all towards an eye towards trying to avoid altitude sickness and obviously so we don't
danger.
Yes,
danger.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Benjamin, how old are you?
I'm 12.
You're 12. So tell me something. Is this something that you really want to do, or is this something you're feeling pressured to do? Honestly.
At first, it just kind of felt like more of a pressure kind of thing. But now, since we've started, since it's getting closer to when we leave, it's kind of more going to be that.
So you're excited now?
Yeah.
You're excited now?
Yeah.
Very nice. So Max, how did this all come about for you? Now, is this something that you have been on the, the excited side of things from the very beginning, or is it built up to this?
Well, I'm a big outdoorsy guy and like adventure and everything. And originally, when my dad came up to me, he's like, "Let's go climb Mount Kilimanjaro." I was kind of like, "Okay, whatever, Dad." And I was like, "Sure." He was like a joke. But now, like as things have come in and everything's coming in order, I'm like, "Wow, this is gonna be really exciting, and I'm gonna be able to do all these amazing things after this." So I'm really excited now.
So
and I have been.
The most famous fundraisers for Magen David Adom in the United States is purchasing ambulances for Israel for Magen David Adom. And did you ever consider just purchasing an ambulance and not doing something like this, or is this something that this was your first set? We're going to support Magen David Adom. We're going to climb a mountain. Well, what was your first thought, and really, what was your first connection? I want to go back for a second. What was your first connection, Max, to deciding on making Magen David Adom your mitzvah project?
Well, for my mitzvah project, I was seeing what all my peers and everybody was doing. And honestly, it was all worthwhile and everything, but I wanted something that I could connect to and I could use future on and everything, and something I would actually be able to see and how it affects everybody. And I went to Israel for my bar mitzvah, and I saw all that, and it really kind of hit me, and I was like, we gotta do more, and it's a real worthwhile foundation.
Great. All right, let me go back to you, Howard. Now, Howard, you're an attorney, and you have a lot of clients, a lot of people that you deal with. Did you connect to Magen David Adom first for Max through someone that you knew who's connected to Magen David Adom, or was this something that Max chose himself?
I think Max and I together were looking for different ideas, and I grew up in Skokie, and Magen David Adom, all the synagogues, everyone used to raise money for it, and then I didn't hear much about it, in my 20s and my 30s. And as we were thinking about something that we could do and that he could really connect to that would also affect Israel, somehow we just kind of got to this point. One of the things I think Max was trying to say too is I think he noticed with a lot of his peers, the projects that they were doing were very superficial. And not that that's bad. Everyone does what they can.
Sure.
And but I kind of promote, put yourself out there. You know, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say that you gave 100%, then I don't think it's worth doing. And that was kind of the genesis, I think, of how we got to that. And so we found that this Red Bag of Courage program, I think actually on the internet, and then got connected with Sandy Rosen over in the Northbrook office. And of course, Sandy embraced us and embraced Max and really encouraged him to participate. And I can say, you know, through all the B'nai Mitzvahs that he was involved in and that he went to, I don't know anyone else of his friends that did anything with respect to Magen David Adam. So I think it was really a great opportunity for Max and really for our family, because he saw the hard work that he had to put in here to raise $2,000. And then we were in Israel, and he saw the effect, and he saw what good work these people do. I mean, in Israel, Magen David Adams, they supply 95% of all the blood to the civilian population, 100% to the IDF. They supply all the ambulances, and it's a pretty remarkable system when you look at it in that country. And the reality is, when you walk around a parking lot at one of their facilities, the ambulances are all donated, and they're all donated from outside of Israel, right? And you know, the USA and England are the two big donors, and so without our support, they're going to have a big problem. And those ambulances, 3-4 years, and they're done. So they're constantly in need of supplies, and this is something that I think really connects well for all of us.
Max, you're also just about to reach Eagle Scout and the Boy Scouts, is that right?
Yeah.
So you've been very connected to the outdoors, as you mentioned, and done a lot of things in the outdoors before, such as hiking and survival things with the Boy Scouts, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So, how about you, Ben? Are you Boy Scout also?
Yeah, I'm in Boy Scouts.
So is this connection from being a Boy Scout also working for you?
Yeah, just going outside and doing all these things, going to camps, and just going. We've gone to Wisconsin a lot, and we're going to go climbing. So.
Very nice. And when's your bar mitzvah?
My bar mitzvah was in March.
Oh, so just this coming year. You're almost 13.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And is this going to be part of your mitzvah project, or are you going to do something separate?
This climbing the mountain is part of it. It's kind of going. It's going with It's part of it because
You're raising funds for Magen David Adom.
Right, but we're raising more instead of just like a bag, like my brother. We're gonna try to raise enough money to buy an ambulance.
So that's the second step in this whole mitzvah project in raising money for Magen David Adom, where many people make the ambulance the first step. You're making it the second step along with this big climb.
Yes.
That's great. That's great.
And Benjamin, aren't you then, you're responsible for raising some of your own money too, correct?
Yeah.
Just like Max was, right?
Yes.
And how are you going to do that?
Well, we are gonna. I'm gonna sell tarts with my brother's help.
That's great. So brothers are for.
Yeah, but he's gonna help me make them. And we're gonna sell tarts for Thanksgiving time. And
so the idea is that you're going to do your own fundraising as well, not go to family and friends, but actually go out and fundraise by selling things and finding different projects to raise money in that way.
Yes.
That's great. I think it's great. I think it's great. Well, we are here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I am here with the Zavell family, Howard, Max, and Benjamin, and stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Carol Marine, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
Welcome back. We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I'm here with Howard Zavell, Max Zavell, and Benjamin Zavell, and we are talking about their trip to climb one of the greatest, largest mountains in the world. And Kilimanjaro, just hearing the name sounds scary, but what was your first thought in doing this? What, you know, how do you arrange something like this? You don't call a travel agent and say, set up for a mountain climb on Kilimanjaro because I'm going to bring my family and we're going to raise some money for MDA.
One of the first thing that really was of concern to me was, I knew this was something that I could do, but was it realistic to take my two sons? And my wife and I talked about it, and obviously she had some concerns. This isn't a highly technical climb by any means, but you know, you're going to 19,000 feet. There are some dangers associated with it. It's in Africa, and so there were some concerns. And I reached out to an old friend of mine who climbs, and he actually was an old gymnastics coach of mine, and who I respect very much. His name's Seymour Rifkin. And Seymour and I talked about it, and his initial reaction was, yes, but I'm not sure, because he really didn't know the boys. And his biggest concern was not so much the physical part of it, but would they be able to camp and be on a mountain for 9 days exposed to the elements, especially as we ascend. And as he got to know them and understand that they camp quite a bit. These guys camp in the winter. We camped last winter and there was snow on the tents overnight and below zero temperatures. Then it became, hey, these aren't your typical guys that grew up on the North Shore, that they actually have had this exposure. And we both became pretty comfortable with the concept that this was reasonable. So once I got comfortable with that idea that I'm not taking some unreasonable risk with my sons, my wife and I obviously came to some discussions about it. We made sure we were both comfortable with it, and she agreed. And we realized this was really an awesome opportunity for them to see a new area of the world, have an amazing adventure, and for us to do that together.
Let me ask you a question, because I know my viewers are watching this and going, do you have a backup plan in case somebody doesn't feel good or it gets tough for the boys?
Well, so we had to hire, to be able to go on the mountain, you have to get a permit and you have to have a guide. Okay, so I had to find a guide. And there's a couple big guides that do a lot of advertising in the United States. And actually I thought for a while I was going to use one of these. And actually Seymour said to me, he says, you should really use someone local in Arusha. And there's a lot of reasons why. And so as I started to investigate that, another friend of mine had recently climbed, and he had used a local company, Arusha, which we ended up the ones that we're going to use. So we'll have a guide, and the biggest concern for me is, do we have a backup plan? And we've taken a lot of preparations for that. I have a fourth climber, okay, and that's my little cousin. He is my little cousin. He's 25, but he also happens to stand 6'4".
What's his name?
James Mylan. And he and the boys and I, over the years, have done a lot of fun outdoor adventures. I really believe that being outside and doing outside activities is really a great thing. We do a lot of canoeing and kayaking and fishing, and maybe it's a little bit outside the box that you don't really necessarily expect to hear. So I knew this would be right up his alley. And he was finishing graduate school, and I wasn't sure if he would be able to do it. And, you know, long story short, he's coming with us. So that gives me a little bit more peace of mind, so that we have two adults.
I want to talk a little bit about MDA, and we'll do that in just a moment. And because it's such a wonderful organization, and really, if you've ever seen an emergency or a terrorist attack video of things that have happened in Israel, MDA is there like that.
Absolutely.
And saving people. And we are here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. I am here with Howard, Max, and Benjamin Zavell, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
They said on the radio that there was a pigua, a bombing on Emek Street where my dad and sister went. First they told us that my father was killed, and then they told us that Nava was killed, and that was that. Instead of a wedding, we had a funeral.
We are going to an accident on the road. We had a report of 3 wounded. 2 of them are okay. 1 of them is not so good. ירד. מה קרה, גברת? כן? אופק, פתחת לו תודה. הוא מגיב? כן. שנייה. שנייה,
After the death of my father and my sister, I don't want to ever be in a situation where there's someone next to me who needs help and I can't do anything. It's amazing to see how MDA is working now with their equipment and everything, and to think that my father had a big piece in it is, I guess that's what pushed me.
Welcome back. We are here on Taped with Rabbi Doug once again, and I am here with Howard Zavell. He is an attorney who lives up here on the North Shore, and his two sons, Max, Benjamin, and he has his wife Ann, and he has a daughter, a younger daughter. They are not going on the climb with you,
That's
Ann
true.
and your daughter, but they are certainly going to be supporting you all the way through and keeping up with you, meeting you after the climb, and
Absolutely.
I think that's great. Have you ever talked to anybody besides your guide who've gone on this climb and really investigated in that way rather than just using a guide's words on these things? Because I would think that such a big task, and as you said, a possibly dangerous mission such as this, needs a lot of research and education before you go, and that includes education for your children.
Absolutely. I've talked to many people who have climbed, and as I said earlier, first and foremost I spoke with Seymour Rifkin, who actually climbed Kilimanjaro, and he actually came and talked to the boys. We sat around our kitchen table Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, and we talked about the opportunity for, does this make sense?
Great Shabbat discussion.
Absolutely.
And he felt it made sense.
He did, but he was very good about addressing what our concerns are, and does it make sense, and how difficult this task ahead was going to be, and how important our training would be. And he really stressed with us the necessity for significant training, which is what we have done over the last year. During the course of the year, I lost 25 pounds from all the training, which I didn't think I had that kind of weight to lose. So it's been pretty impressive. But Seymour talked to them, and he addressed what their concerns were, and they probably aren't going to be really happy that I say that, but he asked each of them, what's your concern? And I think up to that point, Max was not real interested in this trip, because he perceived that this was Everest, and he perceived that you're going to die, right? And he said that to him, and Seymour really kind of put it all in perspective. And yes, anything can happen, just like anything can happen crossing the street. But, proper training, being prepared, having a good guide. This is a pretty realistic trip for these two guys. It's not like I'm some whack job, for lack of a better word, taking these kids halfway around the world to see if we can survive. This is not, I don't take risks with my children. This is something that we've been preparing for.
It's a life experience.
Absolutely. And I'm confident that if I thought that there was a risk to us, we wouldn't be going.
So let me go backwards a minute, because I've been in your house and you have mezuzahs on all your doors. You're very, very involved in your synagogue. You're a very traditional Jewish home, and I want to know where your origins of that and your origins of your love for Israel start, because I think it's an important part of where this is all leading to and what you're passing down to your children, you and your wife.
I grew up in Skokie. I went to an Orthodox shul growing up. My rabbi was Rabbi Nathan Weiss.
Who's a good friend of mine, lives in Israel now.
Yes, and he's still a good friend of mine. In fact, he bar mitzvah.
Persian Hebrew congregation
yes,
on Main Street in Skokie.
That's correct. And he knows my children very well. He named my daughter. He bar mitzvah Max in Israel. We see him when he comes in. My kids have a wonderful relationship with them. My whole family does. And not just myself, but my parents have stayed connected with the rabbi. And there's a real connectivity there between he and my family and Israel. I was bar mitzvahed in Israel with Rabbi Weiss. He's just been throughout my whole life. And Ann and I have tried to impart our love for Israel and what it means to be a Jew growing up on the North Shore on our children. From Hebrew education, Jewish education, tzedakah, and what it really means to be, at the end of the day, a good person. And that's how we try to live our life. And I'm very proud of my boys and my daughter, and we work hard every day to make sure that they have that focus. And that, we are a small part of this world, and we can have some impact. And I think that's what was the greatest part about that Redback Courage program. I mean, that was just a little item. But when he went to Israel, and we saw how impressed they were with that this young man came there, and then he had done that, and then followed it through. It just reinforced everything that we've been talking about, and that we've been trying to teach our children. And this trip is the same thing. And I've said this before, and we talk about this all the time in our house. If you work hard, you can do anything you want. And here, we've worked for more than a year training and preparing, thinking about what we need to do, getting our minds prepared, our bodies prepared, and then also thinking about how we can connect all this to do something good. It's not just about us. So when we decided to do the whole fundraiser, people were like, "Oh, are you going to use the fundraiser to pay for your trip?" I'm like, "How could you?" I couldn't even cross my mind. No, we're paying for our trip, and hopefully we're going to raise a lot of money for Mogen David Adom at the same time. And so that's at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. And that's probably why I wasn't real good at the board meetings, because it just wasn't good for me.
That's really great. Well, I want to wish you so much success. Magen David Adom in Israel will benefit from this, and we all make our marks in this world. Everyone can make a difference, like you said, and you are making a difference. Howard, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I want to thank you, Max. I want to thank you, Benjamin, for what you're doing. I wish you much blessing and success in your endeavors. And I know this trip is going to be a great success, and it's going to help a lot of people in the big picture in Israel because of the three of you. And I want to thank all of you, our viewers, for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. And if you want to find out more about their trip, about Magen David Adom, or about how to help them with their trip, you can email us info@tvrabbi.com, and I will forward that info to Howard, and he will get back to you by email and give you more information. So once again, thank all of you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful, safe trip, and you should continue to do many more mitzvot in the future as a family. And hope to see you next time, right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.